Welcome to Off Market, where every fortnight we are going to be chatting about all things real estate, from the truth behind what you're reading in the media to what is happening in real estate in your little patch of Perth. This is going to be pull no punches, no holds barred look at the WA real estate market from people who are in the trenches doing the work every week, and also me. So, while I work alongside real estate agents every week, I am by no means a real estate agent. So we do have a panel of experts that we want to introduce first up. So sitting next to me, we have Shane Beaumont, on the right-hand side. Shane has been selling real estate for over 10 years, specialising in the southeast corridor of Perth, specifically in the Gosnells market. He was WA's most recommended agent in 2018 and 2019. Now, Shane, would it be fair to say you are one of WA's most prolific users of social media?
Unfortunately, for many, maybe. Look, I'm very active on social media. I enjoy it. My wife gets a bit over it sometimes, but it is unfortunately part of the job in many circumstances. So.
Beautiful. I'm sure your sellers are happy about that anyway. Now, our second panellist sitting right next to me is Ross Hunter. Ross has worked in the property industry in Australia and in New Zealand for many, many years, and he's one of WA's most well-regarded auctioneers and sales coaches. Roscoe, how many auctions do you think you've called over the years?
Well, the many years thing first, Jess, many years. Unfortunately, it is not 30, but auctions over 7,000.
Wow,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go, we've got an expert on our hands.
Yeah.
So now the formalities are done with, guys. We're going to kick off with our first weekly section. Okay, so each show is going to be broken up into segments. They're going to be timed, so there's no waffling from you guys. You need to keep it short and sweet. Our first section this week is Under the Hammer, where we're going to break down the auction market in WA. Yep. Now, Roscoe, this is clearly your area of expertise.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw you a question to kick things off.
Sure.
Anyone who follows property, especially on the East Coast, where there's a lot of auctions going on, a lot more than certainly here in WA, they probably would have heard the term clearance rate.
Yeah.
I want you to break that down for me and explain what that means.
Yeah, really good question, Jess, because there's a lot of discussion around, look at the clearance rates in the East Coast versus WA. The clearance rates in the East Coast, just to really quantify what they actually mean by that, versus WA, where we tend to use the term under the hammer. Over there, the clearance rate is, they have to report into their relative institutes by the end of the day, and that's any properties that have gone to auction that day and cleared during the course of the day. Not necessarily sold under the hammer, but they may have done the auction at 11 o'clock and by sort of 4 o'clock they've got a contract together. So it's what they've actually cleared during the course of the day under the auction process. Mm-hmm. Whereas over here, we tend to use the term under the hammer, what physically sells under the hammer, which really skews the whole thing because, being involved in as many auctions as I am, there's many auctions that we conduct on a Saturday, and we just need a little bit more time to put them together, and they're sold by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so that gap is there in relation to, we need to get in sync with the East, so we all talk the same language, and it puts relevancy in the whole process.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that we've got this perception in WA, and as much as I love auction, it's probably not, the most favoured method in a lot of properties I do sell. But
right, mate. We'll take you to the dark side.
I think so often the day of auction can be seen as a success or fail if it goes under the hammer, not what the outcome is. It's just a part of that process, whether it be private treaty or auction, it's all a process.
100%,
And obviously, I do think that we need to get that mentality in WA that if it doesn't go under the hammer, that doesn't mean it's a fail. Mm-hmm. It's the outcome that obviously precedes. And I think REWA, one thing they are very good at is, making it very clear the average days on market for auction is, I think, in the mid-30s in WA, which is pretty phenomenal given that median, obviously, the actual average days across the board is closer to 90.
Well, back that up,
Shane. Third of the time on market if you're auctioning versus...
Well, it is, and Jess, it's like, in real estate terms, and Shane will back this up, certainly, time is money in real estate. The longer the time, the less the money. And like, you look at my year, that's the year's passing, really quick. We'll put about 180 to $200 million worth of real estate through the auction process this year. And we know within 35 days, we're going to clear about 82 to 83% of that. Okay, so the actual under the hammer rate is about 55%, but the clearance rate, which is what Shane's saying, the days on market is halved. That means all those people who've gone through that process. Shane, would you agree? It's probably fair to say they've achieved a premium for their property because it's cleared within 35 days.
The ability to create urgency in that first, whether it be again, private treaty or not, the best chance of selling for a premium is going to be when fear of missing out is there.
Yeah.
So I guess it's really interesting. We have people come through the second week of home opens and going, oh, Shane, it's been on for a bit. It's been on for a while now. It's 2 weeks. But the difference is 10 years ago, 2 weeks, you had 2 opportunities to go out on the weekend to see properties.
Yeah.
Now, when they're watching MasterChef, Love Island, these sorts of shows, they're on their phone all night. So every night they're looking at the property, the perception becomes reality. And that's why it's so important that you, I guess, in selling in this market, you understand the worst thing I hear when I bring an offer in the first 4 days is, oh, it's only early days. Because it's not how long you've been on the market, it's how long that buyer's been in the market searching for your property. And it's it just happens so much quicker these days.
So, Shane, why don't you auction your properties?
Look, it's a very good question. I guess there's a lot of dealing with first home buyers. It's quite daunting for them a lot of the time. They do watch the block, and I guess, and there's still that mentality that, oh, if it doesn't go, both for vendors and buyers, if it doesn't go on the hammer, it's a fail.
Yeah.
But the likelihood of someone coming in cash buying in my market, let's say a property is going to go for $300,000, for the cash buyer, smart investor that's no emotional attachments, they're probably a 260 cash buyer. So they do have their place, but I guess any area across Perth, I think you've got to look at with auction, the supply and demand. Reality is in Gosnells, if they didn't buy my property, there's probably 5 or 6 of the same property.
Yeah.
If you go to an area like, let's say Shenton Park, hot skill zone, average days on market's probably less than 10, I would have thought, if it's priced right.
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot of urgency in a short amount of time. So
Yeah.
it can work really well, but in my market, I don't want to exclude anyone,
Yeah.
but I love the method. My dialogue is basically auction without the day,
Yeah.
really.
So that is bang on 5 minutes. But I think next show we do want to come back to the importance of having a cash buyer in an auction and I guess why you need one.
Yeah.
And whether or not, if that wasn't a rule, would that affect
Yeah,
the use of auctions in
yes,
WA?
it's probably also like we've got a bit of a catch cry, and that is you either sell it or make it saleable.
Yeah.
You know, so what the auction will do, it'll capture the buyer pool, and they can either bid it at the auction or they're there ready to put a contract up. So there you can work in many different ways.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That is it for Under the Hammer. Our next segment. We're moving on to the real press now.
I like Under the Hammer. We
Yeah.
like that. Can't we
this
stay
is
there?
your specialty, Nat. We've got 5 minutes, guys. You've got to get us your
Okay,
gold.
move on.
Get us your gold in 5
To be
minutes.
continued.
To be continued.
Well, we just got the wind up from
You
the
got the
boss,
wind up. You
from
got
the
the wind
director.
Our next section now, when in the opening we said we were going to tell the truth behind the media,
Yeah.
what the media is portraying. There's a lot of people in Perth who might have been following the media's reporting, and they don't know whether they're Arthur or Martha, essentially, because 1 minute the market's going up, the next minute it's down, we're in the lowest slump we've ever been in, whatever it might be. So we're going to bust some of those myths and explain what's really going on. Now, Shane, I know you've brought along one article that's really got on under your goat this week, and I'm going to show it here.
Yeah.
This
I
one?
I did
The home
actually.
front?
Yes. Well, just about that, I guess there was a bit of the perception that I actually rang in 882, spoke to Gareth Parker about this.
Oh, did you?
Excellent.
The
I didn't know
perception
you were
was that
65, Shane.
I know. But the agents, I guess to the public, it was seen that the agents were asking for a free kick, and I don't really think that was the case. I mean, to be honest, in this market, my business and our business at One Residential has thrived. It's probably a clean out we've had to have in the industry. The professionalism, in my opinion, has gone through the roof. We really need to catch up with what's happening over east. There's some slick operators over there. But I think that we're looking for that free kick wasn't really a true reflection of what was happening. The reality is entry-level housing, and we'll talk about, obviously, some numbers later on, but if you're looking at turnover, there's less sales that took place in, I think, the last 12 months than what happened in 1981. Now, Ellenbrook wasn't there, Byford wasn't there. These sort of suburbs, we've had that sprawl, Alkimos. So to have less sales take place than 1981 is a bit concerning. So I do think that we do need something to kick-start it. I know the builders have been struggling as far as their numbers, but having just the first homeowners grant on building, it tends to get that sprawl further and further out. I do think they need to get the established going, which will kick-start people getting out of that negative, they're trying to get the economy going. Negative equity, people aren't going to be spending money down south. They're not going to be going to shops and going retail if they owe more than what their home is worth. So if we're going to get that kick-started again, like we did in 2014, I think we need to get something on established to chew through that supply. But my biggest concern also is a lot of the retirees that are, if you're 65 years of age and you're on a big block, now 10 years ago your property might have been worth 500,000. where you're going, your care facility is probably 500,000. Where we're at now, because of what's happening, your property is probably worth 350, but the retirement village is probably 550. So people simply can't free up that land to develop, and they can't afford to retire because they just can't get into these places. So there's two things there. One, obviously, aged care. These facilities need to be looked at with policy. We need to get something just to chew through that there's those properties in well-established areas. Schools are there, train stations are there, infrastructure's already there. We don't need to build more.
Yeah.
That's where I think is where the government really needs to look at. We don't want any free kicks. We've had purple bricks come, transactions are down, we work on percentage basis, prices are down. Haven't whinged, but for the economy to get kick-started, unfortunately, WA and Australia, owning a home's the great Australian dream. That's what's going to get kick-started, in my opinion.
All right.
Yeah.
So we did have an update on this. This article was from the 17th. So yesterday it was announced that the government are taking away stamp duty on off-the-plan purchases.
Yep.
So we'll see, and that'll obviously, we'll have some feedback on that, I guess, next show. We'll see how, if there's been anything rolling from there.
Yeah.
I had a quick article that I wanted to ask you guys about, which came across my desk. And it was this one, Sales Agents Commissions Tied to Vendor Ratings. It's from the East Coast. There's a new agency opening up over there, and they're planning to... They've established the nation's first carrot and stick agency model. It gives clients direct influence on how much agents can earn based on the ratings that they're giving the agent once they've done a transaction with them. I wanted to know from you guys, I guess from a consumer's point of view, that sounds great.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of it?
I'll jump in first if you like, mate. Look, it's, to me, put the carrot and stick on to the side. It's about skill base. For somebody to get the best possible result, you need an expert. And I think if these type of people come into play and start sort of dangling a carrot to get the public to think the best way for me to transact property is going to get the person that's going to do the best deal up front on commission, they're just going down a road that's going to be very rocky, because at the end of the day, as Shane said, this is the big Australian dream. We're dealing with people's biggest asset. You don't want to play with that. You don't get a second chance to be first chance. You've got to get an expert. You've got to get a highly skilled person. Something Shane said earlier on about if somebody's considering coming into the industry, they shouldn't be lured into something about a high commission split. You should be lured into an environment that's going to teach you to be a highly skilled person that will always get somebody the best possible result. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I think we've seen a few agents that have gone. Agencies that have gone down that really high-end commission split, which is great, but I think a lot of reps probably don't realise it does cost a lot of money to run an office, a good office. So the higher split, typically, unless you're a really established agent running a business within a business, something's got to give, whether that's training, resources, marketing. So I get a bit worried that if you are looking, in my opinion, the agency now is the best agencies. Now, most principals don't meet the clients and people's vendors. It just doesn't happen. But the agency's role now is more about giving that agent the opportunity to grow the right resources, and the agency will benefit from that, and so will the agent. But if you're trying to get people on the highest split, it's very hard to build a culture, because there's always going to be someone offering more. If everyone's all in and everyone's a part of the culture, I think you'll find, whether it be a 5 or 10% difference in split, you will benefit threefold in being the right environment. And that's it from being a sales rep.
From a sales rep's point of view. All right, beautiful. So you mentioned experts, having an area expert, and that takes us on to our next topic, because our 5 minutes is up.
Chewing through it.
I know,
Mate,
it's 5 minutes flies by.
Sure, the clock's right.
I'm
the line's over here with one clock. You've got one.
You guys
here comes the noise. Yeah.
You guys just don't realise
off camera,
how much you
she's a
get
goat.
Now, our next section that we're going to be bringing every week is the Hood Highlight. So this is where we're going to throw a spotlight on a different suburb in Perth. And we don't just want to focus on some of the suburbs that we see in the news all the time, those kind of western suburbs, or, we're going to talk about all different places. Now, in terms of agent expertise, I don't think you get much more expert than when it comes to you in Gosnell's area, Shane. You grew up there, you've sold there for many years. You're all over it. So we're going to throw to you for our Hood Highlight. We do not have a guest today.
No.
So you're our expert.
Okay.
So let us know. Tell us about Gosnells.
I guess I was only speaking to Ross earlier. Quite often when we talk about the WA market in the news, it keeps really negative. Now, there's certain areas, like I used before, I guess, Shenton Park, for example. One of the hottest areas in Perth, probably Australia, to be honest. It's fantastic. Nedlands, Rossmoyne, these sort of areas. So when I guess you're hearing that reported through the news how bad the market is, it's probably not a true reflection. And as an agent, it frustrates me because I follow some agents on Instagram and they've got 30 people at a home open. I haven't seen 30 people in a day of home opens. So it's very challenging in certain areas and different pockets, because for whatever reasons, are more popular. So to just say a blanket, I guess, summary of an area, I just don't think it's true. I use Gosnells as an example, and I do sell all over Perth, so I get to see properties that are gone in a week, and we've just got people just lining up. But Gosnells had a real challenge, I guess, with the investors coming out of the market, rents being obviously a lot lower, tightening of banks. Those investors have really pulled back. So great time to be buying. Not that I'm trying to plug any properties, but it is a good time to be buying.
By the way, we have 28 Smith Street Gosnells. It's really hot this weekend.
To put it in perspective.
Shane wants to see 30 people in his home.
No, that's right. Yeah. So to put it in perspective, if you look at sort of 5 years ago, 2013-14, median house price in Gosnells was up around 380,000. Today it's down to 266,000. But probably a bigger concern is we had about 550 sales happening a year. We're going to struggle to hit 200 this year.
Since 2014?
If you look at per year. So 2014 we had over 550, and we're going to struggle for the year to hit 200.
Yeah, right.
Now there's a lot of property in the market. So house prices have pulled back basically 33%. If you look at an area, again, like Shenton Park, I think 10 years ago, people were going, I wish I bought back then.
Yeah.
Still not the case, obviously, in certain areas. So they're doing that in encouragement of investors to get into the marketplace, first home buyers to get in the marketplace to chew through it. I guess what's hot, what's not, good family homes. The area's got great schools, getting a much, much better name for the schools. Good infrastructure, bus and train station. So good family 4x2 homes are really hot at the moment. What's probably not, second-hand villas, and that's probably due to the fact that you've got a situation where you have a brand new villa offering a $10,000 first homeowners grant and a second-hand villa not. Obviously, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's very hard. So second-hand villas have been hit really hard. Development sites through the area, land bank buyers over the last few years have brought up some fantastic buys. No one's pushed the button developing it.
So they're just sitting on them for
They're
now.
sitting on them, and I think what's going to happen, if you look around, because those finished villas haven't been selling for enough, people haven't developed. But there is going to be a shortage, I think, over the next 18 months because nothing's come out of the ground. And that shortage will start to see those people push the button on those developments. Rents at the moment, rental market was pretty tough there for a while, but people are starting to see actually rent increases. Myself, I've had a rent increase for my tenant. They've almost fainted, but that's what happened.
Alana, our producer's got an investment property out there. Have they given you a rent increase yet?
No?
No.
Oh, we'll have a word with your property manager.
I think I took her tenant, so no. But there is better times ahead, I think. But average days on market, again, in Gosnells is 92. But it's probably not a true reflection. I think you'd probably agree with this. What happens is if I go on the market, we don't sell after 90 days, then they come and choose me and hopefully we sell for 20 days. It's not really 20 days on market. It's really 110. So that number, I think, if you actually dissected it, would probably be close to about the 130. And I think you'd probably say that in a lot of suburbs across Perth, it's probably not a true reflection of what actually sells. There's a lot that doesn't sell. So as a general area, really interesting. The biggest age, I guess, of people living in the area, I guess the gap is from 5 to 19, which means a lot of young families, about 21% of people.
Shane, just jump in there. You said about sort of somebody lists a property and they go through the whole agency in 90 days, then you might grab it and sell it in 20 days, so there's your 110.
10 days, but yes.
10, sorry, mate.
God,
10,
get
10
that
days.
right.
Yeah. But do you find, though, that if, like, your own average days on market, what are they in Gosnells?
For me,
if you've got the property off the bat first time?
My average selling days of actually what transacts is 37.
Okay.
But there's things that don't, like if we've got a development site that paid $550 a few years ago, I know it's a fail. But for example, I just saw one recently. I sold to them for $525,000 in 2014. They've just recently transacted at $325. There's a lot of people that they simply don't have the horsepower to actually get out of that property. They want to, so that's actually transacting days. So I do think that average days is definitely not a true reflection, unfortunately.
All right. That is our 5 minutes, guys.
What?
I know, unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Gozzies needs more than
Shane,
5 minutes, mate.
I'll give you 30
The thriving
seconds.
metropolis of Gozzies should have more than 5.
If there's anything we've missed, I'll give you another 30 seconds.
Anything
imperative?
Really interesting. Obviously, people get caught up in fantastic school zones, Rossmoyne, Shannon Park, for example. For the first time, we're actually seeing people, with the cost of going to private schools, actually moving to areas, and even in the mortgage belt areas, because of good schools. It's definitely a trend, and I think a lot of people are actually moving to buy properties for better school zones sometimes than better zoning. Because short term, I think you've a high chance of getting growth as opposed to waiting for these property prices to increase before we can develop.
Mate, it's a huge point. I was in New Zealand for 15 years in Auckland, and when I first got there, I was shocked how they market property. And the headline of the marketing was the zone, the school zone. I went, what's all that about?
Yeah.
And I think it's at the point now. If I was listing a property within the Churchlands High School zone, Shenton College, Ross White, etc., the headline should be what the zone is, because it's massive.
Yeah. I wrote a property ad for someone today, and it was close to the beach.
Yeah.
Here's the schools that are in the area. There.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you a really interesting stat. One thing I'm big on is data, because I don't see many people at home open, so I have to look at the data to see how we're tracking. Sold a property recently in a hot school zone, 1,000 views, 900 map visits. An average property in Gosnells at the moment with 1,000 views, you're probably looking around a quarter of views, so 250 views. So that's a good indicator that location is so important. And that's amazing feedback for an owner to say, hey, they've looked at the map, they've looked at photos, and they haven't done anything. It must be priced, because that's engagement.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Beautiful. So each week we are going to cover off a different suburb. We are planning on having a different expert, different agent in every week. If you would like to nominate your suburb, or you want to nominate an area expert to come on the show, hit up the Facebook comments and let us know, because we are going to have a panel of 3 for every show from now on. So, beautiful.
Like Agent X, is it?
Agent X.
Agent X, we'll call them. Alana, you like
mystery
that?
man.
Agent X, yeah.
We were going to put a...
want to see on the panel?
Who do you want to see?
Dick Slider.
nomination.
Not Dick Slider.
No, we have Dick Slider.
We've got to have a WA agent,
No,
mate, just
I'm
to
only
kick things
joking.
off.
Oh, we've got to get a larrikin.
We've got to get a larrikin.
Larrikin, yeah.
I think we've got to get a female.
Yeah.
A larrikin female, even better.
Tash
I'm not allowed to
Wilburn.
say that.
Tash Wilburn.
Okay.
Okay, done.
All right.
Boom.
So put the call out for Tash.
Now, this is the part of the show where normally we take the opportunity to get to know Agent X and we throw some questions at them. Obviously, we can't do that today, but we want to get to know you guys. And you guys actually only met when we kind of kicked this off about
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. We formed a beautiful
Heard many great
friendship.
things.
We like
I
each
know.
other now.
I've
So,
got 12 auctions booked over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, he's coming to the dark side.
I have got 8 questions for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw them at you. You got to think quick.
Is this off the bat?
It's off the bat.
Are they real estate?
No, they're not real estate. This
Okay.
is getting to know you, getting to know all
okay.
about you.
Okay.
All right? Are you ready?
Okay, who's first?
I want you to answer simultaneously, but
Right.
let someone speak.
Okay,
So you're
you
not.
can go first.
Okay, all right.
Age before beauty.
Yeah, that's right.
Boom!
I'll take that.
Have you got a boom button on that?
Mic drop.
Okay.
All right.
Let's
Ready?
go. Come on.
Best meal in Perth.
Long chim. Hot and spicy, just like life should be. I got that.
Duck spring rolls at Vans, followed by orecchiette at Il Lido,
Boom.
followed by the cutlet at Nolita.
Okay.
Yeah, the
There's a-
cutlet. Yeah,
there's a
that is
tour of
very,
the
that
Western
is very good.
suburbs
That's a
for
bit of
you.
a go-to. Yeah, yeah. Or
biggest-
the pizza at Bellissimo.
Guys,
Very
I
good.
said
Yeah.
one meal. I said
Sorry.
one meal.
Well, come on.
Biggest-
We're
biggest-
going for product placement. We're going to go to these guys and get money.
Yeah.
Biggest stuff up.
Biggest stuff up.
Oh, God.
My
What?
biggest stuff up was commercial one. Was in New Zealand when we bought this network over there. It's part of our growth and made one big fundamental error. I learnt that nobody cares more about your money than you, and never ever let somebody own something like that and run it and drive it without you being absolutely involved. And yeah,
Amen.
it cost a little bit of money on the way through.
Expensive
yeah,
mistake.
yeah.
For me, biggest mistake, I made a few. Actually, what comes to mind recently, a friend of mine, done the old coat tag, told me buy a share, nagging, didn't buy the share. I hear daily how well that share's going, so that's fresh in mind.
Two
But they
very-
don't tell you the ones
two
that they bought that
financial
didn't do any
mistakes.
good.
No.
What about letting go of Alana as your PA?
Yes.
Oh, boom.
No, isn't that
10
one of the
years on
great
it.
victories?
Still
Yeah,
stings. It still stings.
Ouch.
Worst habit.
Worst habit? I don't know. Worst habit. My worst habit would have...
Shane's going
Don't look at
red.
me. I don't know you.
My worst habit would be I can't walk past a switch and not turn it off if it's on.
Wow.
That's probably a good habit, though.
Yeah, but even if nothing's plugged in,
Energy-
I've got to turn it
energy
off.
friendly.
It drives me nuts. It's a bit of the old,
OCD.
yeah. Yeah.
leaving just a smidgen in a bottle
Milk.
and put it back in. No, I'm going to milk coconut water because they feel heavy. The lid is heavy, and you feel there's something there, but there's certainly not there.
Sam's cursing you day
Yeah.
in, day out.
That's probably the. That's probably I get in trouble for that. And also doing the dishes, well, washing the dishes, but letting them drip dry.
Oh,
finishing the
no,
job.
mate, no. You can't do that. You can't do that.
That's what I do.
Biggest influence in your life?
Biggest influence in my scary spice mum.
Well, there you go.
Biggest influence would be by being surrounded with some really amazing people. You know, it's just, I think it's the collective.
Yeah.
You know, you surround yourself with great people, and therefore you'll rise to that. Yeah.
Without a doubt, my mum. She's got amazing work ethic. She's a very patient woman, my mum. So yeah, without a doubt, my mum.
I like that Roscoe said his mum and then took it back.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sort of, mum. I do love you, but you are scary.
Most precious belonging.
Has to be your health. For me, it has to be my health. You know, I haven't got my health. I got nothing.
That's really good.
Beautiful.
Really.
I was going to say my dog, but I'm probably going to say my wife, my dog, and my health.
She's not
is-
a belonging, mate.
No. That's, I just
See, the health thing, mate, you can't get into trouble with
Health,
that.
yeah.
It's all
But,
good.
I think the dog belongs. My dog is.
Your dog isn't belonging. Your wife is
Yeah,
not.
okay.
Well done.
I belong to her. I think.
Last question. Most overused saying.
She'll be right.
Wow.
And it won't be.
I constantly, nothing's worse than I'm hearing our videos be played when we're loading them on social media. And I think, geez, I say leave no stone unturned too often. But
I have heard you say that a few times.
yes, yeah, and that would be the most common one. At the end of the day, also.
At the end of the day. At the end of the day.
At the end of the day. Oh, yeah. I've got to say, mate, at the end of the day. Yeah.
Very cliche.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
we know you a little better. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice
Yeah.
way to go. All right, we are very close to wrapping things up, but we're not going anywhere without rolling out our play of the week.
Okay.
So,
Play of the week.
play of the week. I know you've both got a nomination. I've
Yeah.
got a nomination. Roscoe, do you want to go first?
Yeah, my play of the week has to be.
Oh God, I've
Has
lost
to
the
be.
page.
It's there somewhere. Has to be
There's evidence.
our newly appointed lady president. We
I
have
say
Steph Dobro, who's launched
Yeah, I did
her
see
own
that.
her own brand,
Yep.
the White House Property
Well done,
Partners. And so I'm not sure if it's now Steph or Ms. Dobro, or is it hello,
Madam-
Mrs. President?
Madam
yeah.
President.
Madam President of the White House. That's got to
Good
be
play.
play of the day. isn't
That
it?
is a great spread. I love
Yeah.
that.
I think
Beautiful
Steph, I think
photo.
Steph will like that, being
Beautiful
known
photo.
as Mrs. President. Sorry, Steph, I know we're in trouble.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Shano.
So, obviously, I do a fair bit with social media, but I think sometimes agents take themselves a bit seriously. But I've been enjoying the banter of a few people. Dick Slider, I mentioned earlier. I find that just really entertaining. And also my cousin Vlad. So if you're not following them, make sure you check them out. Very good banter. I'm presuming it's banter. He might be actually like that in real life.
And
but-
not your actual cousin, but my cousin Vlad on Instagram.
Yes,
Is that correct?
he's not actually my cousin. I'm happy to claim him. Very,
You can
very
find him on
enjoyable. So make sure you check it out on
@mycousinflame.
Instagram. I'm sure you'll be able to check him out. Very cool. Drives an Audi. I think it's the only person he follows is Audi. So
Okay, there you go. My play of the week, guys, is David Pickering and Greg Chapman from Acton Coogee. They've recently united forces.
Okay.
They've become a team. They put together this little video. This little video popped up on my feed the
Control
other day.
her, Chris.
you should have got one from somewhere the red dot.
Sorry, keep going.
Play of the week goes to Alana, guys.
Yeah.
No, David Pickering and Greg Chapman, yesterday they were putting out shout-outs for a team name. I don't know if they've picked one yet, but I reckon Team Red Nut could be a winner.
Are they both ginger? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they're
Greg
both
might be upset
What about
about
the ginger
that.
nuts?
The
As in
ginger
the
nuts?
biscuits?
Yeah.
Yeah, the ginger nuts.
I don't know if Greg will be stoked about that, but if you've got names for them, again, comments, Facebook comments, chuck them in there.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah.
If you've got a play of the week, we want to hear it. So
Yes.
nominate your play of the week. We'll show it on the next show.
Yeah.
And that is it.
Nominate yourself. You want to be on. Talk
Nominate
about your area.
yourself. Nominate. We want to hear from you. All your
Yep.
feedback. Chuck it in Facebook comments. Now, before we wrap it up, I do need to thank Domain Hire and Styling for hosting us in this beautiful venue. They're beautiful
Stunning.
offices.
Absolutely stunning.
They set up this set for us with very little I guess, advice, or that's what they do. So thank you,
Shore
guys.
offices were like this. Is very nice.
It's beautiful.
All the orchids everywhere.
I know.
Like Singapore.
Stunning. And a huge warehouse out the back that we might do a little tour of on another show. So thank you so much. Thanks, guys, for your time.
Thank
worries
you,
at all.
Jess.
And,
Nice
we
meeting
will-
you. Rob.
God. We'll see you same time, same place in a fortnight.
We'll be here.
Cool.
Same
Beautiful.
time. Thank you. Done.
Cheers.
Yeah.